uh, using the Know Your Landscape and Common Connect. FES is also using some kind of framework uh, related to water security, so that how we can support the community on some kind of informed decision making, especially related to the water. So, okay. Uh, Nowadays we are using the two different protocols. One we call the water security assessment, where we try to document a longer term water security plan for the community. Uh, and another framework is basically related to crop water bursting. So every year, based on actual rainfall, how much water actually community have for particular year, and how the community has planned for the crop in the for the particular year. And based on how much water is available and how much community has planned, there is some we get some balance, whether it is surplus or deficit, and we took this data with the community and discuss key how we can do on this particular situation. If we have a surplus and we can use this water for an agriculture, how we can actually go into the increase in the area, what we can be actually done on the ground. Same, if there is some deficit within villages, what intervention can be done to improve the water situation, maybe in a supply side management or some kind of demand side management. So here, basically, water security, we are looking something like that. Uh, One thing is very important for us actually, ki this whole process, how we can involve the community. One is very important, especially by using the Common Connect and by Know Your Landscape. There is a scientific information is available, but major part where we have observed where the community interaction is actually happening or not. Information is somewhere else, but how actually community is interacting that particular information, and therefore we are looking all our aspect that community should engage in each and every part. Certain parameter, whatever we have taken from standard, we need to again discuss with the community so that they can formalize. And there is a certain core principle which actually we believe and we are following on the ground, like the water is a common pool resources. So maybe structure is a private, but we also discuss this key within this particular structure, water is a common. So maybe water is coming from somewhere else and you have a structure, and therefore the decision should be on a community level rather than individual planning, that how much water I can withdraw and particular structure, or how can area we can uh, uh, increase biodegradable water. Obviously, it is not a 1 year or one time exercise. It is a regular exercise where emphasizing this water is a common pool resources. Second is the integration between the surface water and the groundwater. Within a certain location, like we are working in the different states in India, the certain part where the community are heavily depend on the groundwaters, and certain part we are looking like an eastern part where the still the surface and surface of water is enough available. So while making the plan, why we need to consider in these two aspects in a very serious manner. Ki how much water is actually available on surface water, if we have a water in surface and subsurface, whether we need to go into the deep groundwater or not. So that quantification and that availability on particular period is very important. And this integration, we are working on that. Third one is the balancing between the demand and supply side management. And at last, uh, the community is in the score in whole process. So uh, in approach, especially FES follows the community is the decision maker. We are not just focused on the data collection. We are collecting and data and putting some information into the app and providing this much water you have. Even the whole process, starting with the data collection to discussion to the decision making, communities should involve in each and every part. Analytically, it is a very simple, like every water busting tool has happened. There is an availability, we estimate on the availability, we some put some kind of detail for how much water is required in particular community for different purposes, and the comparison between this demand and supply side. Uh, so like most of the model, they focus on the hydrological concept, a trade-off between the crop and structures, and some kind of the defensive model for the community so that they can actually enforce the different funding agency, MG-NREGA, or in through GPDP, why we have gone for this kind of structures or this kind of cropping pattern. So like, two model I have discussed in the water security plan, where basically we focus on the each and every kind of water is required for the community, starting from the drinking to domestic to livestock drinking to the crop water requirement. And we use the standard formula. It means there's an already standard has been fixed that this much amount is required for the healthy lifestyle for a particular human being in a day. Same way, large ruminant, small ruminant, this is a water requirement. And for the crop, there is a standard crop water requirement per particular crop and variety wise. So we focus on that particular norms, and based on that, we get that how much water is actually required by the community. And second, like based on how much water harvesting or recharging structure community have, or how much different kind of lifting device they have. So that how much actually community is able to get the data, get the water into their village. And second, based on the rainfall, how much runoff is generated. Generally, we use a strange formula. So based on the good recharge area, bad recharge area, medium recharge area, runoff area, we get the runoff and runoff pattern. And similarly, based on the central ground water estimation committee, how much recharge can be possible through natural process. So certain data we generally use, and based on that particular estimate, exercise, we get this balance. And we also get that based on the data, how much water is actually going out from the village, and how much opportunity we have to harvest within that particular water set or within particular village. And accordingly, we start discussing with the community in the larger perspective, not the year one perspective. Maybe in a coming year, the population will change, there will the cropping pattern will change, there is a plan for the animal husbandry will change, and to cope that particular situation, how much water or how much kind of structure is required. And obviously in the sustainability, we also look in the governance part on the same time, maybe in a one-to-one, whatever structure there is available within the community, is there in some governance mechanism going on or not with the community, is some kind of rules and regulation on use, on irrigation scheduling, or any kind of management, or ensuring that each and every community get the water, that equity wala concern. Within the village, there is a huge disparity, especially access on the water for every manner, for drinking, for livestock drinking, and irrigation, we all know. So that matter we took with the community, and especially now concerning especially the climate variabilities, where we all know that such type of situation might be come in future. And if such situation will come, then how the community will cope. So what kind of intervention they can take if we know that rainfall intensity is increasing, duration is reducing. So in lesser time, if more rainfall is happening, whether the structure is capable to hold that much water for the longer period or not. Such kind of decision we discuss with the community. Also with growing with the pollution, water quality wala angle, not in a very concrete manner, but we took some discussion with the community on that. So the community interaction is a very important with taking this data. We sit with the community and we keep discussing about this thing because the community discussion and community decision need take times, because community feel on that whether it is very important or not, on how they can integrate for the longer term planning, not only for the GPDP on a year one process. It is a longer kind of process. So rather than preparing a plan for the year on, if community has a longer plan for like 5 or 10 year on, so that kind of planning we generally emphasize at the community level. And in a both angle, not only in the supply side, how much structure and how much size is required, but more focus on the larger context, that how we can also manage the demand side intervention. especially on Odisha condition, where we generally get a sense that much water is available, but community are not cultivating. So we keep discussing to relate in the agriculture and relate with the livelihood to link with the with other factors which are influencing on the agriculture. So water is the one of important factor, but while working on the water and water security, we also consider the other factor which keep need to discuss and work on that. Like in a certain condition, human wildlife conflict. Therefore, the community are not able to cultivate more areas. There is the open grazing issues. There is a serious problem within the Odisha and eastern part with the infrastructure constant. There is a lack of water body. If water body is available, there is a no connection channel between water bodies and a particular agriculture field. If there is a well or water bodies, they don't have a lifting device. If lifting device, they don't have an electricity. So such discussion keep discussing with this community, and while making a larger plan, while discussing with the community and taking it into the panchayat and block level, this minor detailing we try to address through this water security flow. Second with the crop order bursting is that particular year only. So, and what I think, especially to integrate with this common connect app, because we are taking the each and every resource mapping, how much water structures has community have, how much well they have, and we are also taking different kind of equity wala angles, which causes depend, how many household are actually accessing that particular water. Again, we are all taking the data of the crop details, not by the village wise, but we are taking the grid wise, and we are uh, uh, putting some kind of information within this crop grid. We can look in further in longer run that how we can take this data and based on this data, we can look at some kind of algorithm so that we can also not prepare some kind of the water security assessment based on the primary data rather than totally depend on the secondary data, which we are looking into this common connect app, and we found there is some irregularities, especially in the concern of the water budgeting uh, uh, concept. Is the water security, and obviously a lot more had discussed about the cloud. I hope you all know about the usability and its technicalities of the cloud. So I'm not going to take much uh, uh, detail into that. There's a multiple spatial input has been into the cloud, which ultimately provide a uh, multiple combination. And generally, for the user perspective, it has been converted in the color coded map. Generally, we provide a 4 and 5 type of combination so that at a community level, how they can easily get that uh, recharge area within their village, so that based on particular information community take decision. So they can avoid this unsuitable structure selection, because one thing in the water structure, we all agree that the purpose is very important. And if the purpose is very important, and we know that particular area which our objective is to harvest the water for irrigation or for some other work, and particular areas fall on under the recharge zone, then it actually not fulfilling the community's demand. And there's the obviously when community has demanding something is not fulfilling, there's the conflict will arise. So not only to saving the lot more fund for that particular intervention, we can also reduce the conflict, so that community also come together, and not only they also take this kind of spatial analysis into and their planning. And the recharge is one of the major important part now, is the growing within the community itself. Earlier, when it's difficult to talk about the recharge kind of structure. Every structure which does not hold the water community, most of the part community or government think this is not a kind of use. But now it is a very important for the community as well. Certain kind of recharge structure is required, which is the essential for the maintaining the groundwater level. So which place we can put that particular recharge so that maximum output can get, this cloud can help. We are also using this cloud not only by the recharge and storing area, but also we are thinking we are taking this cloud into the designing about that particular structures. Let us assume our objective is to recharge uh, uh, recharge the water, and we get in a green zone. Green zone is a high recharge zone. So rather than going for the large kind of structure, we generally prefer the short and a small structure so that the particular structure will collect the water. Because of the high recharge potential, there is a multiple recharge will happen in that particular place within short span of the time. At the same time, if the yellow zone which represent the moderate recharge kind of zone, if the structure size is very less, then it requires the time to recharge. So again, the more water will flow out. So that particular place you need to focus on kind of little bigger structure so that more water they can hold, and over the period it can recharge. Same we can using with decision for taking some small soil and moisture conservation structures. If particular zone is in red zone, which generally does not focus on the recharge, and we design particular structure in that particular zone, small zone like the trenches, and then it actually not fulfill the intention for the recharge. Obviously, it's slowing down the water and reducing the soil erosion, but in the recharge uh, portion, it does not help. So this particular tool actually supporting the community on take decision, scientific decision with their traditional knowledge. So in each and every tool, actually FES is focusing that tool not provide the decision. Tool just support it, and ultimately decision should be with the community. If they don't agree, no. If like in a certain portion in a forest, there is a green zone, but water requirement is very high because of the wild animals keep coming. Then only to digging in a pond is not a solution. We need to work on some kind of more scientific and involve some technical expert, which is important. But it provides some kind of information. No, this only to digging in a pond is not a solution. You need to work, or you can invest little more like that. Uh, and I found this CLART plus Common Connect. Now the Common Connect is already CLART is already within the Common Connect app. So we look at the CLART is a more on the scientific way, where we identify that which place we can use this CLART for the site selection for the different intervention. We overlap with this groundwater train data. FES also collecting this groundwater train over the year, especially FES is working on that particular location in multiple states. We keep collecting the data on the pre-monsoon and post-monsoon, and based on pre and post-monsoon, we are developing some kind of the trend, whether that particular area water level is going down, or there is some so on the upward movement, or there is some static movement. And based on that particular data, plus CLART is also helping that what kind of intervention we can decide, and that's prioritized based on the water busting. And obviously, the Common Connect, which are now I found in very interesting and very related to the community level. It is somewhere it is highlighting this equity concern, because the kind of data and the kind of pattern we are taking the data within the Common Connect app, and we can use this data to justify the equity, to highlight the privatization of the work. Because while we are working, there's a multiple settlement they are demanding, and their demand is somehow is correct. But like when we go in the prioritization and we highlight this equity wala angle, like settlement wise disparities between the different resources and access, and we use data plus this kind of intervention, the privatization will come follow. Let us community themselves deciding, rather than focusing on the particular settlement, they have a high number of water resources. Why this year they not focus on the area or the settlement where they have lake or no resources? So within the community, there's some kind of consensus is building because of the data themselves is showing, because the matter of equity discussion within the community is not so easy. Discussion in the room is easy, but within the community it's become very tired and very conflict situation. And ultimately this whole discussion will taken by the some kind of field facilitator or the CRPs. And again, the ability of cadres is becoming very difficult, because generally they avoid such kind of discussion within the community to avoid the conflict. But rather than particular CRP will tell, the data will is showing something and telling something, then it becomes so easy. And after that, we finalize the plan. So basically, the technical and the governance, because whole the water wala angle, governance is a very important part. So how we can take this governance part within this common connect app is more important for us. Again, because one part is very important is because this uh, uh, whole design or whole knowledge taken by the field cadres or community resource person in the ground. And because somehow we are related to some kind of a technical knowledge, so which is very easy for us to understand, to discuss, but same intensity and same kind of knowledge, if we want to translate within this community, the role of the community cater is a very important, and designing their training program, designing and improving their abilities again very important. Generally we follow multiple methods, but one is that conceptual grounding is again more important, because we are talking about the watershed and reach to valley approach again uh, play in a very important role. Surface and groundwater interaction, the community themselves can understand, because nowadays we all know that multiple program is going on within different areas. Those are intensely or non-intensely focused on the deep groundwater, like in a solar pump, like in a free electricity, multiple, so that it is very easy for the farmers to tap this deep groundwater rather than going for the available surface or subsurface water. So such kind of knowledge by the community and community cadre take into the community. Climate variability, we all know that how this climate is changing, and how this climate angle translate into with this community discussion is again more important. And one part is again we are looking core element is the interlinkages between different ecosystem, land, water, forest, livelihood. So it is like someone is want to work on the water, they can work on the water without working on the water as well. If you are working in the catchment protection area and whatever resources we have. So such kind of interaction and such kind of discussion we generally take with this community cadre, and some kind of analytical skill that how can translate data into the information, uh, the recharge and the groundwater train data. And the again more important is the facilitation skill, ki how this data has been translated in the local language, translated in local level their dialogue, uh, so that a particular facilitator can go into the village and they can explain so that community can understand. And again, the evidence-based planning, dialogue, discussion, they can start within the community. For that, we follow a model called the low dose high frequency. So rather than going like in a watershed, if we are designing a watershed concept training for a field cadre, we generally we generally don't go for the one day, 2 day, 3 day kind of program, because we generally design on a program like the 1 hour, 2 hour maximum, and we just provide a part of information so that they can interact, they can understand, and they can certain knowledge they can go to the field and they can use. And while working, so we generally break down that particular training in the multiple parts. And uh, when they are second one is very important to give the training when they actually require. Let us assume if the agriculture season is starting and they are planning some kind of intervention, so before that 10 or 15 days we provide such kind of the training, that what activity they need to do on the field, rather than providing all training in 3, 4 or 5 days. So every, like if we go on the again we are trying the pre and post monsoon water level mapping. So before starting the water level data, uh, 10 days or 15 days before, we again conduct a training, and we generally follow the virtual mode rather than focus on the uh, physical training. And the again very important we call it the guided mentoring session, because we go into the field, we face a lot more problems. Some will call directly कि सर ये problem हो रहा है, इसके लिए कैसे resolve करें, and maybe one to one we can interact it. And maybe in other cadres also facing such kind of the problem, but they are not interacting to us or to their colleagues. So we generally in a particular time frame we organize in a training, we organize in a guided mentoring session. We collect the different kind of the question or problems the community actually facing uh, in a writing, and we send that particular problem to the concerned uh, person who are actually able to answer in a scientific and social way. And we organize in a that particular guided mentoring in a virtual forum, and we try to interact this kind of discussion. We are going and we are not able to operate like the common connector. We are facing this. We are not able to even operate in the offline mode. So what is complexity? So certain kind of small one-to-one person so that larger community can benefit. Through this particular model, we are able to take this water governance initiative in more than 2,000 villages in Odisha alone, and whole data taken by not by the FES cadre. Maybe out of 2,200 villages where the FES is directly working and collecting the data and supporting the community on decision making, and rest of the data by the government field functionaries. Because within the government ecosystem, within panchayat level, there are multiple field functionaries are available. They are doing similar kind of work. We are filling the gap through the capacity building and through just knowledge providing, and through this low dose high frequency model. And we are able to collect around 2,000 village data on the water security uh, on year-to-year basis. Uh, so yes, thank you.